There we go. I think we're now good on the mic, so just want to double check there. All right. Yep, that looks good. How are we doing? Did you have a good weekend? I'll tell you what, it's been busy in the Farr household. Been doing a lot of running around. Let's see, we had to dog sit and help out some family this weekend. We've been cooking and running around. It's just been one of those weekends, where it's just nonstop. So even tonight, I mean, we just literally finished eating dinner. So yeah, it just seems to be nonstop. And speaking of nonstop, let's get into it. All right, welcome. If you have any ticker requests, feel free to shout them out. Well, don't necessarily shout them out, but definitely type them out and we'll get to them. Let's see. As always, we like to start from the top down and kind of work our way through the sectors and any individual names that we might be looking at for the week ahead. Just want to confirm. I think the quality looks good on our end in the Discord. I got it set on 1080p, so I set at 1440, but it should still look fine though. Yeah, that looks good. I think everything else looks fine. All right, so we had a pretty busy week last week. I know the major headlines was the Netflix earnings and the Tesla earnings, and it seems, each earnings season definitely has its own flavor, and the question remains this week, is the earnings flavor going to be, even though that we do have earnings beat on EPS, and maybe there's like a minor issue here and there on the report, is that going to cause a sell-off? A lot of big tech names, have had incredible bullish runs over the past few weeks, past few months. And, that is kind of an eerie kind of question if you really think about it, that we've had some crazy run-ups and, the earnings, they're already priced in. And, that was my theory going into the Netflix and the Tesla earnings. And yeah, we kind of sold off of that. Not to mention we had that very special NASDAQ rebalancing, and if you weren't familiar with that, the NASDAQ basically wanted to unload some of the top holdings. They pretty much shed a little bit off the top here and there, and they took it from 55% of the top like 5 holdings, and they took that from 55% to 40%, and so they shaved it off the top and they put that extra 15% in some of the low key names. And we actually have a graphic here if you want to look at that. So let me zoom that in. So there you go. Apple, they went from 12% to 11.5. Nothing too crazy there, but Microsoft, as you can see, took a 3% hit and 3% hit on Nvidia, and those are the kind of the big ones. And Alphabet, Google, Goog or Google, they both took about a 2% hit there. So, and that is one of the things that we'll kind of focus on this evening, is how does that actually affect everything going into the new week. We have this new rebalancing in the Qs. We got a lot of earnings in play. And, looking at everything here on the calendar, there's a lot going on. All right, there is definitely a busy week ahead of us. We have a lot going on as far as earnings goes. We got Google and Microsoft this week on Tuesday. We have Meta and LRCX on Wednesday. You got MasterCard, you got Boeing, you got Texas Instruments, you got Verizon, NXPI. I mean, you name it. There's a slew of earnings. Roku, Dexcom, Intel. You got ZOM on Friday. Yeah, it's just going to be a busy week as far as just the earnings alone goes. Is going to be enough to really keep our shoulders level there. So we got to pay attention to what these numbers are going to be. Are they priced in? What are the investor expectations going in to this earnings season. And I'm actually feeling a little bit more cautious going into this earnings season. Maybe things are just priced in, and we already know that the market is definitely on the extended side, so we definitely kind of want to pay attention to all that. And that was one of the talking points from last week, was that this market is just crazy extended. A pullback would definitely be welcome, and it is what it is on that. It's just we're still in a very bullish trend overall. So any pullback, great, we welcome it. In fact, I would be excited to have, I actually welcome this pullback, especially on the Qs, because that opens up the doors to new opportunities to get into some fresh plays, especially if we start this week off tomorrow and we do get a buy program on the NASDAQ. I think that would be kind of pretty sweet. There's a lot of interesting names out there other than tech, though, that we'll kind of get into also. So we definitely want to just kind of pay attention to any kind of the rotation that we've been seeing. Thursday and Friday was pretty much when the rebalancing was starting to occur. And on that note, we saw a lot of the defensive sectors, such as the utilities. We saw healthcare. Financials have been on a good run. Energy's looking really interesting, and actually, energy's probably one of my close watch sectors going into the week ahead. But looking here on the SPY, just to kind of draw things out, we've had a good, incredible run, +3 ATR. We're starting to cool down. We're hanging out at the 786 retracement at the 451 area. That's acting as support right now, and as you can see, I don't have my pencils up, so let me get my drawing tools out real quick. As you can see, the S&Ps actually performed somewhat decent, and that is all because of the weightings within the sectors. And the S&Ps, sure, you got Microsoft and all that going to influence them, but when you compare that to the tech heavy NASDAQ, the S&Ps fared fairly well. The Dow has fared fairly well, and the IWM has fared very well. So, it makes sense that the SPY is hanging on a little bit better here at the 450 level. Can it come back in? Sure. If we do get a drop all the way down to retest this prior resistance at 443, 444, it makes a whole lot of sense. So if we do get a break of this 450 mark, yeah, we could make a little bit of way down here to 443. There's a lot going on this week, especially with earnings. We got FOMC on Wednesday. We have Jerome Powell and the rate decision. Speaking of the rate decision, we are expecting a 25 basis point rate hike for this July meeting, and then the market is anticipating that the rates stay at that level for the duration of the year. So we are anticipating that they're going to be done with rate hikes after this one, and I believe when we see Powell on Wednesday, there's going to be a lot of ears to look for some more clues into what they're thinking, if they are exactly going to hold it there and remain vigilant there until the core CPI, we got the PMI services coming out too, PPI and all that. Make sure that those core inflation numbers do start to cool down. But, one of the interesting talking points is, okay, what if energy does, come back? Does that create a problem for inflation? Maybe, maybe that does create some sort of issue there. So, we all know that energy prices and oil prices are a big component within the inflation data. So if oil starts to get an uptick, like we'll take a look at it in just a second, how's that going to impact those inflation data numbers, and how does that influence any potential rate hikes? That's a large question to be asked that we don't have the answers to exactly. So it's just one of those things. We just need a few more cards to be dealt, and from there we can have a little bit of understanding. So just looking here at the SPY, just kind of get back into it. I know I kind of ranted there, but looking at the SPY, 451, 450, if we start to lose those areas, look for a move back down to 444, and that is just a retest of the prior resistance level, as well as the dynamic 21 EMA. That would give us a full reversion to the mean, And if we do get a reversion to the mean, I'm going to be looking at those smaller time frames to get in to have any clues of a buying program to push us back to the upside, which I believe that will ultimately be the case. So we still might have to go through some pain, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on the cues here. If we start over and look at the NASDAQ, we can see that we've had a little bit of a deeper pullback. It's still on a pretty impeccable bullish run here, thanks to communication sector, thanks to all the AI news. Yeah, it's still one of those things. We did have that Biden news last week where Biden did issue a statement saying that they are looking at a regulation and blah, 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 blah. We'll see what that comes out to be like, but one step at a time here. Looking at the NASDAQ, though, it's still an uptrend. Even if the pullback, pulls us back even further, that's fine. If we get a break below the daily 50 SMA, that could definitely be a personality change and warrant, maybe a head scratch there. But I don't think we dip below the 50. I think the odds are is that we still get a little bit more of a pullback and then we continue to push on ahead. I still think the bullish nature of this market is still pretty strong. The overall momentum is to the upside, and there's really not too much to complain. We had a weekly squeeze that has fired long. Sure, we're still a little bit ways off of those lifetime highs at 408, so tech does still have plenty of work here. And it does bring up the question, like, okay, so the NASDAQ had their rebalancing, right? Microsoft took a 3% hit, and they sold a lot of Microsoft, and they bought a bunch of other stuff like Gilead Sciences. They bought Broadcom, just a bunch of random stuff. Now, as you can see here on Microsoft, we had a pullback to the daily 21, and this actually held pretty well on Friday. We do have earnings coming up, so we just got to keep that in mind. We're getting into the heat of earnings season. Are the earnings priced in? What is going to be the after earnings move? It's it can be good or bad. Just however the way things go. I think this could cause a little bit more of a caution sign going into earnings, just because we already know what the reaction was with Tesla and Netflix. We'll see if that is the case with Microsoft. Of course, they've been doing a lot of work on the AI front. There's going to be a lot of eyes and ears on that earnings call. But does this mean that the NASDAQ is going to, pretty much lose its stardom, and the answer to that is pretty much no. If you are concerned with Microsoft and how it's going to behave now within the NASDAQ, you can pretty much just keep an eye on the XLK. Now, the XLK has, let me pull that off so you can see it. There you go. The XLK actually had a 52-week high, but Microsoft and Apple are your heavily impacted weighted names within the NASDAQ. So if you are concerned with Microsoft, just avoid tech completely, not tech completely, just avoid the XLK in general. If you need to have a list pulled up of who all is in the XLK, you can Google that and get a feel for that, because wherever Microsoft goes or Apple goes, that's pretty much where the XLK is going to end up going. So if Microsoft and Apple are outperforming, most likely chance everything else is going to go up, right? And that means everything in XLK are going up. If Microsoft is getting dumped or Apple's getting dumped, most likely everything in the XLK is getting dumped. So you probably want to avoid the XLK in general. Same thing, if you are concerned with Google's, weighted reduction, they only had a, they had a 2% reduction pretty much within the within the NASDAQ. So this does affect sectors like the XLC. But as we know from the weightings, Meta is pretty much outperforming. And let's see, they didn't really sell off a whole lot of Meta. They only sold off 0.7% And Meta's been a huge outperformer within the communication sector. And looking at, it does have earnings coming up, of course. Looking at this previous earnings, we can see that it's had a substantial gap up, consolidation, move higher. Here's your next earnings, gap up, consolidation, move higher. Is this going to be a three-peat on Meta coming up to its earnings? We'll see. But in regards to its sector performance within the XLC, Meta has been a complete outlier. And it just gives us clues to where, where and what impacts high concentration weightings there. So, and also, one of the good sectors that has been performing well is definitely the XLY, and that definitely affects names like Amazon and Tesla. And, the XLY has had a pretty good substantial move here. Weekly squeeze has fired long. We did have a little bit of trouble with this swing high, it seems like, at the 175 mark. So we just want to see things. You see how it pulled back to the daily 21. And if we compare that to the XLK, let's see, the XLK 52-week highs. Of course, the XLK is going to look better because of Microsoft and Apple making new highs there. But names in the XLY tend to look pretty good here, especially if you look at Amazon, who has a daily squeeze is still forming. It's still at the daily 21. We did hit our head at this 136.50 level. So I'm looking to see if this daily squeeze continues to shape up. And we also got to be aware, earnings are coming up. But yeah, just want to focus in on that. Tesla, however, is kind of an interesting one here. We already post earnings. We know that they did a little bit of selling on Tesla. They sold 1.1%. We cracked the daily 21. What I am concerned here is this is a lot of space between the daily 21 and the daily 50. So now that we've gotten a gap fill at this 265 mark, can she continue to fall? And the answer to that is, yeah, most certainly. So I am looking for some extra downside here on Tesla. We had a daily close, but below the daily 21, we could easily get another. And if we do get a push lower, I do expect 242, 240 to hold. There is another gap fill here. And it would just make sense because that is a area of confluence here between that gap fill and the daily 50 SMA. It's been quite some time since we've visited that daily 50, since was that May and June, since we visited the daily 50. But in general, yeah, Tesla is looking a little suspect here compared to Amazon. And the XLY, yeah, it didn't get hit too hard compared to like names like Microsoft and Nvidia, and she closed, generally speaking, right where she closed on Thursday. So it wasn't that bad. Thursday, there's your close here. Friday, there's your close. So not much change there. So think about where the individual names are weighted, and you can start to dilute all of it by just really looking at the NASDAQ 100. And when you think about it, yeah, I do like the idea of a bounce here on the NASDAQ. Another way to benefit the sell-off in tech is to play off the sectors that are showing lots of strength. And the names that sectors that have been showing lots of strength is definitely the financials. Financials have been improving, and guess what? When the financials improve, so does the Dow, so does the S&P, so does the IWM. If the IWM is doing well, guess what? The KRE is doing well also. So this all has, you kind of get my drift here. There's the way that all these sectors are weighted and where those weightings have the most impact on those indices do have an impact of where we need to be looking for, new trade ideas. And sure, tech got that sell-off. We were in plays such as Walmart, Procter & Gamble. Let's see. Well, we tried Pepsi. We got stopped out of Pepsi, but same thing, though. That was the same approach. Pepsi shot off. We were in John Deere, pretty much touching anything that was not tech for the most part. And if you were playing tech, most likely it was either a day trade, which there's nothing wrong with that, but all the other sectors were doing a lot better job compared to tech, because tech was forced into that rebalancing. So they were selling tech, buying up everything else, and that is kind of a healthy market there. So sure, yeah. So XLF, big move here. Even the XLV has had a pretty good move as of lately. And yeah, sure, it's not 52 weeks, 52 week highs like the tech sector, but if we can get a break of this 137 area, I mean, there's nothing much to stop it between here and 142. So I'm definitely paying attention to the healthcare sector as well as the financials. And when the XLV and the XLF are on a tear, and especially if you are concerned with the XLK issues due to Microsoft or Apple, even NVIDIA, which NVIDIA has, probably a more impact on the SMH. The S&P 500 is actually going to perform a little bit decent because financials and healthcare and all the other sectors are pulling the weight. So, as we can see, S&Ps, they haven't really gone anywhere. Now, it could get interesting if we start to see some of those sectors pull in and they go back and buy tech, because, that's just the thing to do nowadays. It's just to buy tech, buy the dip. So I do think it is a buy the dip opportunity within the NASDAQ. But if you are concerned with the XLK issues and you're looking at strength in the financials and the healthcare, the S&P is going to pretty much be stable. But all right, so the SMH, sure, this one is a little bit interesting because the heaviest weighted name within the SMH sector is NVIDIA and TSM. We know that NVIDIA had a 3% reduction, but, and that can drag the SMH lower for sure. But if we dilute that effect, you could technically just buy the SMH outright instead of playing NVIDIA. Just play SMH because there's other names that can impact the SMH in general. So while NVIDIA takes a little bit of a hit on the chin, you have the semiconductors, which are still in a very healthy bull run. You're still right here at the daily 21. You're holding pretty stable with that. You also have names like Texas Instruments, you got Broadcom. There's just a whole other slew of names that you can get involved with if you want to play the overall SMH rather than NVIDIA at the moment, if you do want some kind of exposure into the semiconductors, right? Moving on to energy. Energy is the big one, right? This is the one that I want to talk a little bit more on. More on? Just call myself a moron. All right, so energy is crude oil right here at the daily 200. This is the big one here. If we get a break above this daily 200, and even if it's a breakout retest of the daily 200 holds, that still puts you back above the bullish hemisphere here, and we're trying to make a move higher towards that 82.64 area. And I do think that is likely, because if we look at the other oil ETFs, such as the OIH, this is the VanEck Oil Services ETF. This one is, leading the way, is well above the daily 200. It's right here at this 336. So I think this is a pretty juicy spot to start looking. You also have the XOP. Yeah, that's the one I was looking at. Look at the XOP. The XOP is actually breaking above its daily 200 as well, looking for a move towards 140. So there are certain names, sectors that are starting to look good. And if we compare that, if the energy sector, all right, you see how the energy sector is right here at the daily 200. If we get that breakout, let's compare what happens when the other sectors. So let's look at the XLF. When the XLF broke out above its daily 200, see how it broke up, hesitated a little bit, held it as support, and it used the daily 200 as pretty much a launching pad, and off we went from there. Let's see, we can also look at even the healthcare sector, which has been a pretty big mover over the past week. You see here, broke above the daily 200, retested, and off we went. So is this going to be the case with the energy names? That's a good question, but it definitely has my attention, and that is definitely going to be my focus point going on into the week ahead, especially with all these big tech earnings, and we got Powell. Are we still going to see strength in the defensive sectors, which would impact the Dow? It would impact the IWM. And speaking of the Dow, this thing has a weekly squeeze that is firing long. The upper target here on the Dow would definitely be 356, 360, and then you got the all-time highs. It's already broken above the 618, and there's a big gap between here and here. So yeah, this thing can definitely continue to push higher, especially if the financials push on ahead. Now, one thing that we can look at is the IWM. I've been pretty bullish on the IWM for a while. We came really close to this 199-200 key spot here. Of course, it's pulled in a little bit with the overall market, but it is still holding that 382 retracement off the all-time highs. You see that this has been a pretty crucial level over the past week and a half. We had this stall, and we broke out, and now we're holding it as resistance. So I do anticipate this 193.80, 194 zone does continue to hold up. And as we do, I'm still looking for this longer-term bullish move towards the 200 area, towards even 210. So I think the IWM is looking pretty darn juicy here. And, what's going to make that happen is definitely the regional banks. This is one that has been a focus area for a little while, of course, because, the KRE has just been absolutely smashed around on its head with all the regional bank woes. But this is a pretty clear pattern here with the inverse head and shoulders look to it. And if we want to, our first target is easily just going to be the daily 200 here at the 52.40 mark, and we've already had a nice little breakthrough the weekly 21. So what's not to say that we can't continue this move higher? Even if we get a retest of the neckline, I do expect that to act as somewhat of a launching pad. Now, what names can you pretty much watch? I mean, I like the KRE in general. PNC, this is one of the major regional banks here. PNC looks really good. So you still got that pattern. You're going to see a lot of those in some of those regional banks. So just have some of those queued up. Which one's your favorite? I personally like PNC. Just look for liquidity. If you want to do shares, do shares. Chris has been involved with Schwab, which Schwab has been leading the way for quite some time now, where you had this inverse head and shoulder print to it. You broke that neckline right there at that 59.60 mark. You actually gapped up above it, and now you're hanging out at the daily 200. If this thing can break above the daily 200, I do anticipate some more upside room towards the 73.75 mark here on Charles Schwab. So this is another one to keep a close eye on. Let's see, I think another one to watch too is WAL. WAL definitely got punched in the face here as that regional banking crisis began. As you can see, we've almost, we still got a little bit of work to go, but you still have a little bit of that inverse head and shoulder pattern there. We broke out of that 40 mark. Now we're just making our way up to the daily 200. There is a gap here towards that 60 mark. So all in all, yeah, these regional banks and financials in general just look absolutely really nice to trade moving forward. So not just the regional banks too. The XLF, like I talked about earlier, is moving. We've already had a few earnings from JP Morgan. Let's see, we had Goldman, I do believe. They've already reported. all these guys have had, you know, and we were expecting earnings beats on the financials. This was no surprise that they were going to have earnings beats. It's just the market conditions that we were in with the higher interest rates. So all in all, yeah, these guys look good. One name I definitely like the most is Berkshire B. Y'all kind of hear me, especially if you're in the Discord. Y'all hear me preach about Berkshire all the time. Just waiting for a new setup to come into play. I do believe it has a 4-hour squeeze that we can actually probably take a look into tomorrow and see if there's something that we can get involved in. But if Berkshire does want to push into new highs here, I mean, 350, 355 looks like it's on deck next. And you also have 362. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. Of course, we got some of the credit names coming up. We got MasterCard earnings. We got Visa earnings this week. AXP already released their earnings, and as you can see, they took a little bit of a stumble. And that's one of those things too, you know, is it, you know, buy the rumor, sell the news event when it comes to some of these earnings plays? We'll see. I think that's definitely something to consider. Let's see. I know I haven't looked at the chat just yet, but I am wanting to look to see if y'all have had any ticker requests before I move on to my watch list. I got like 3 chat channels I got to keep an eye on for the most part. But yeah, I do want to take this time to, you know, say if y'all have any ticker requests, feel free to shout them out for sure, and we'll take a look at them. But all right, let's get into it. All right, so first things first, I am, of course, watching crude oil and the energy sector. Plain and simple, that's what I'm watching. I'm also going to, of course, be watching tech, see if we get a balance. I think that should be a duh because it's big tech. You know, why wouldn't I be watching Apple, Nvidia? In fact, I have a grid here that, you know, we watch on a daily basis. We have the NASDAQ, we have the ES, we have pretty much the Magnificent Seven is what they're calling it nowadays, set of FANG. So I am watching that. So we got Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, Google. I know AMC's down here. That's because I pulled up AMC Friday after the bell with the big news there with the ape shares being, you know, the court said no on that conversion. So AMC went bonkers. And also you had Barbenheimer, I think that's what they're calling it. The Barbie movie and Oppenheimer grossed out, like, I think the second best week ever. I think it was some crazy numbers, like 295 mil or something crazy. And if y'all went and saw that, let me know how it is. I definitely might go see Oppenheimer, but I know it's crazy long. I'm pretty familiar with the history of it, so I don't have to be, you know, too concerned with that, not knowing what's going on. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's been a while since I've been to the movies, so is it still worth it? I don't know. I got to think back. When was the last time we went to the movies? It's been a hot minute. I can't even remember what the last one. I'll have to ask my wife what was the last movie we went to see. But yeah, it definitely has to be in one of those like recliner seats. You know what I'm talking about? Let's see. We got some questions there on Baba. You put some cash in adaptive biotechnologies. I think it's going to keep going up. Shaman said, nah, wait till you're able to watch it at home. I hear you on that. I can pop my own popcorn. I can put it on my own screen. I can hang out. Let's see. And if you have a surround sound, that'd be pretty legit too. Let's see. Adaptive biotechnologies. You might give me a ticker symbol there. What is my price target on PNC? Yeah, we'll take a look at that. CCJ, DraftKings. Yeah, let's take a look. All right. Let's see. We'll start with, let me give you one that I'm looking at real quick. Let's see. We already talked. Let's see. We took Walmart last week. This one still looks pretty darn good. I'm holding one runner, seeing if we can't hit 160. Just keep in mind, if we do rotate out of these safety names back into tech tomorrow, Walmart's going to take a hit. Pepsi's going to take a hit. Home Depot's going to take a hit. You know, all the defensive names are going to pretty much take it. So we kind of have to watch out for that rotation. Walmart, I think it still has good potential to the upside and lifetime highs. Let's see. I like, let's see, who do I want to give you? APD. Let's see. No, let me see. I know we talked about energy. MPC has been on a pretty good run. I actually meant to get in on a position. I don't know. I think I got distracted or something. But either way, I didn't get in. I wanted to get on MPC. This looks pretty good. If we do happen to get a dip here to back to 122.50, I think that's a good buyable dip. Home builders. Home builders have been on an absolute rip. LIN. Lind. This is a lifetime high name. Let's see. Looking for higher prices on that. If we want to give us a target here, let's just measure this out and go to edit properties. Let's take off that. Let me just see the 2.6 and the 1.6. So that would give us a target of about 400. That looks pretty good. That looks nice. Let's see, 407. Ooh, nice confluence there around that 422 mark. So if LIN wants to push on higher, great. We have McDonald's near lifetime highs. McDonald's does have earnings on the 27th, so we got to watch out for that. It also has a nice daily squeeze to it, so this is setting up pretty nice. So hopefully, you know, we don't sell off on here, because that could be a really fantastic play here going forward. We got COP. That's another energy play that I'm looking for. If we get a break above this 114 mark, that could very well push it higher, so I'm keeping an eye on that. Or we could just hit our head at 114 and move on down from there. Let's see, we got HES, H-E-S. This one's shaping up kind of pretty interesting. You got a nice tight range here at 141.50, room to 146.50, and 150. I need to do my homework here as far as their options liquidity. But other than that, you got a nice daily squeeze. We got some good buy arrows here. Your neutral bull on the oscillator, so that's looking pretty decent. We looked at Berk B. As far as healthcare names, UNH. UNH has recovered pretty darn well off of its earnings call. You see how we came all the way down here to test this long-term support on the weekly chart down here at about that 450 mark. And when earnings popped off, man, we used that as a launch pad and pushed higher, and now we're back above the daily 200. If we get a pullback, I do expect the daily 200 to hold as support, and from there we can move on higher. So I am going to be a little bit patient here on UNH. Same thing with Johnny John, and probably one of my favorite names out there is LLY. This is definitely a lifetime high name to pay attention to. 469, 470, that's going to be your crucial spot there. You are getting into a fresh new daily squeeze. You have earnings later on. Yeah, that one looks pretty good. Lulu is shaping up to, you know, push higher here, looking for a break above 390 to into 410. That's going to be the next zone here. Starting to get into a squeeze and looking for that to mature a little bit and move on higher from there. So keeping an eye on Lulu, McDonald's. Target's a little bit of an interesting one. This one's a little bit of a bottom feeder kind of play. You do have a higher low scenario here, and now we're just looking to break above 135.40, get ourselves above this daily 50 and into higher prices, and maybe take us up towards that year-to-date VWAP. So 149, if we can get this break and if some buyers can step in, but we know that, you know, some of these woke names, so to speak, have really been hit on the face a whole lot. Case in point, Disney. This thing keeps continuing to make new lows, so I definitely don't want to be involved with it just yet, but I'm keeping my eye on it, especially if Target does want to push ahead. LAC, yeah, this looks kind of rough here. You got a daily squeeze. The oscillator is bearish. You have a bear signal flashing here, so this looks like it will move lower. If you do, you get room to about that 19 level, and once you break 19, you pretty much have a room to 1750 to 18. So I definitely want to keep a close eye on LAC. That is lithium. That is a lithium name, so that's going to be kind of fun. And VRTX, Veritex, still holding some shares here. We took the breakout of 354.50. looking for a price target of 375 still. So haven't really sold anything here, just letting the move play out. Do have earnings coming up, so I definitely need to be mindful of that. We got about a week and a half, or 2 weeks really, until that. All right, that's enough of what I'm looking at. CCJ, all right. Lifetime high, looks like. Let me zoom out here to a monthly chart. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Weekly. Oh, did that have a monthly squeeze? It does. Look at there. Monthly squeeze. So think about it. When a monthly squeeze fires long, what does that give you? I always like to say 5 to 10 because a lot of people interpret it a little bit different when the squeeze fires long. Some people say it's 8 to 10. Some people say it's 5 to 8. So I just say it's 5 to 10. 5 to 10. I use the middle ground. Make everybody happy. 5 to 10. So what does that give you? That pretty much gives you the rest of the year plus some for a bullish momentum trend to keep on moving. So CCJ, yeah, you got that longer term squeeze on the monthly chart. So that's looking good. If we look at the weekly chart, you are breaking out into lifetime highs. You do have earnings later. So on August 2nd is their earnings. So that's coming up not too long, 2 weeks. You still got a bullish trend on the daily. So let's give this a little rundown. Check here on structure. White over blue, blue over red. Let's see. We don't quite have a daily squeeze yet. Oscillator, bullish positioning. That gives us a check. And thrust, this gives us a check also. So I pretty much have all the correct ingredients here to take this as a possible trade. So what I would be looking for is a movement to the smaller time frames, and we can do that by just pulling this chart up. Let's see what the hourly does. All right, so as far as the hourly goes, you see how we have a down arrow here? I know you don't have this indicator because I haven't released it yet. I'm sorry. But what we can do is look out for a fresh buy signal here on the thrust. This is still bullish, so we still got a good check mark here. We are entering a hourly squeeze also. The histogram's shifting from red to yellow, so if we have a secondary yellow momentum print on the squeeze, I think that will be a pretty good indicator that this is looking to head back up into higher prices. Just keep in mind, CCJ is a very slow mover. It can move like a snail. So whatever you do, get time, maybe go in the money, get you some good delta, or heck, even buy a boat ton of shares and start selling some covered calls on it and do it that way if you can. That's definitely an idea. Just keep in mind you do have earnings coming up and know where you are wrong. And where I'm wrong is if we have a daily close probably below the daily 50, you can see every time we've even come down to the daily 21 and cracked it, we've seemed to be holding the daily 50. We haven't cracked below it in quite some time. Let me see. So if we do have a break below the daily 50, that would probably suggest to me that there's might be a personality change or maybe just a change in the tide here. You can see last time you broke below the daily 50, you had a pretty, wild move from 27 to 24. That's 3 points. It's not a lot when you compare it to like names like Apple, but when you think about CCJ, that's a good bit. So 3-point move there on the downside. And then, of course, it kind of turned itself around here within the next earnings report. So that's looking pretty good as far as CCJ goes. What is going to be our upside targets? I think I would probably do it like this. Let's see, I would use this one because you did break out of that. And let's go to our properties and change this to a 1618 and a 2618. I like to use the 2. Let's see, I can just change this to a 220. Have that. And there you go. There's your targets, 35, 50, 37, and 39. That's going to be your upside targets on Cameo. So you got about a 2-point move on fresh lifetime highs. If we get that hourly, that new hourly buy print that we just talked about, that's what I would be looking at. Watch that hourly squeeze, see if we get a new signal to the upside on that. So that's what I would be looking for as far as CCJ goes. Is AMC going to rip? Maybe. Maybe. All right, let's take a look at Baba. Baba, this one's, China. There's always the invisible hand of China and what they're going to be doing. But as far as things goes, if we look at, let me zoom into this chart here. We are in the middle of a range. So what do I mean by that? Here's support holding up at 79.50. Here's your overhead resistance at 103.60. Where are we? Between here and here, right smack dab in the middle. And this is one of those things that, we talked about with snow on Friday within the Discord is, and you can look at snow too and draw out those ranges. You are in the middle of support and resistance. You're not doing anything. You're not trending. You're just sideways. So trading Baba is, I don't know. I'd rather hear pigs scream all night than to try to trade Baba. Probably, yeah, I really would. Until it breaks 103.50, I have no reason to play it just yet. There is no trend, and I can confirm that by looking at this because my oscillator tells me this is neutral. This is flat. It's right here at the pretty much the bull bear line, the 50 level, and it's just flat. It's not doing anything. We don't have a squeeze yet. We could probably form one, but for the most part, this is untouchable for me. If we do get a break above this level, sure, that could be a new picture. Also don't have structure, so if we confirm that, we can look at the moving averages. Sure, we have white over blue, but blue's not quite over red. There's a lot of this going on within Baba, so I'm not quite convinced yet that we are doing anything special here. If we move into a smaller time frame, such as the hourly, we can see that we actually have an hourly squeeze. We have bearish thrust. Let's see, we'll call this neutral. Actually, this is neutral bull because it's above 50. But it's not trending higher, so it's still relatively flat, so it's neutral. We can see that the 50 is above the 21. Yeah, so this is a lot of mess, but I think this can easily come back down to the 89, 90 level to retest that support. It still has a lot of fixing to do. I confirmed that with the 30-minute high compression squeeze. Yeah, 90 kind of makes sense here. So I'm not involved with Baba. I don't see a good advantage to be involved in Baba. Sure, you can get those interesting spikes higher, maybe even a gap up if you play, if you watch the overseas movement. And then it just kind of reminds me of snow. If we want to pull up snowflake. What do we have here on snow? We have resistance here. And granted, I have, I'm ready to buy this as soon as it breaks above 194. As soon as it breaks 194, I'm a player. But, we're in 194 and let's see, instead of drawing it out, I guess I could just mark it, right? Yeah, that sounds a little bit better. 194 and 167, 170-ish. Until we break out of that zone, there's just not much to do here. We actually on snow, we got a nice little daily squeeze. Sure, we got some early bullish signals here, so that could be interesting. So if I were to take Baba or snow, which one do you like better? Which one do you like better, Baba or snow? Let's compare the two. So snow here, you actually have the 21 over the 50 over the 200. You're also above the year-to-date VWAP. You have a squeeze. This is almost there. We still call this neutral because we're not quite over the 50 mark. But we have bullish thrust here. Now, if we have our level, 194, yeah, that sends it for me. I'm all in it if we get above that 194 mark. If we go to Baba, well, it's a little bit different here. No squeeze. This is below 50, so that's not good. We got a sell signal here, so that's not good. Structure is no good. Sure, we're still in a range here. It can make up for it, sure. It can, in time. Ask me next week. We'll see where it's at. But if I were to compare the two, I would take Snow over Baba for sure. Now, Snow, I still wouldn't take Snow yet because Snow hasn't triggered yet. We gotta break above our level. I'm not buying this yet to speculate. I'll buy it above here to speculate, you know, once we get above that 194 resistance level. So Snow actually looks pretty good here. But until then, yeah, it's got to break 194 first. Baba, I'm not touching. Let's see. We had another one there. Let me go back to it. DraftKings. DKNG. Now, DraftKings has had an impeccable run or since its earnings report. You know, reminds me of Meta. Gap up. You know, consolidate, have a move, consolidate, gap. Look, oh, I love this construction actually. Let's see. You gapped up, pulled back to the daily 21, moved higher, pulled back to the 21, moved up, pulled back to the 21, moved up, pulled back to the 21, launch pad. Yeah, that was by the dip to the daily 21. Nice consolidation here. If we break above 32-ish, it looks like. Yeah, 3170 and 29, that looks good. So if we break above 3170, that puts us at our next target, probably around that 33 to, what is that, 36 and a half. So that's looking pretty good. Very tight range. If we start to lose 29, or excuse me, if we start to lose 30, you got a gap fill, and then that would push you to the daily 21. So have an alert for that mark there at 30, and then have an alert set for 3170. And let's see, I know it's probably not going to be a huge measure move because DraftKings doesn't move 100 points. Like, don't you miss those days on Amazon where you could trade Amazon and move like 150 points and make a crap ton? Yeah, I miss those days. All right, so that would be your upside target. That's your measured move. And basically, you're just taking this high, subtracting it from this low, and that is going to be your measured move here. Let's see, there's your 2618. Actually, we need to put a 2 in, and that would be our measured move exactly if we do it like that. 2, yeah. There we go, 33.45. That would be your target. So that would be a measured move between 3171 and 2996. That would be your ultimate target, 33.45, and then you have some secondary targets to work with to the upside. So I like DraftKings. Yeah, a lot of these smaller names, they actually look pretty good. You had a daily squeeze on DraftKings that fired long. We'll see if the momentum can continue to pour in. You do have earnings coming up in about 2 weeks, it looks like, so we have to be mindful of that. But overall, good setup. Just needs to either break out above or break out below. We have structure. White over blue, blue over red, and the white line is your 21 EMA. The blue line is your 50 SMA, and your red line is your 200 SMA. Those are the moving averages that I use. I know people that use a lot of moving averages. I know people who don't use moving averages. It's up to you. Those are the ones that work for me. This dotted line down here is your year-to-date VWAP. That is your year-to-date VWAP. Let's see. Interesting thing that is that Barbenheimer has actually got people talking about going to the movie. Yeah, that's true. What is my target for PNC? PNC, yeah, my target is going to be the daily 200. We could have a target, right here. We could use that one also. 138.75, and then the daily 200, which is at about that 140 mark. So we still got plenty of upside. If we want, we could use our drawing tools here and use a 3-point Fibonacci, depending on where you want to draw that. Let's see. Let's go from here to here. No, that doesn't make sense, does it? Let me go to this one, actually. Sometimes it works better. Not right there. Let's use that as our neckline. Edit. Take all that out. Let me put a 2 there. 1, There we go. So 138.75, the daily 200, and then 146. So yeah, we got time on that. So letting it work out. What we grabbed the September's. I do believe I did alert that, right? Or did I just talk about it? Boom, 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 boom. Did I not alert it? Never mind. I didn't alert it. But either way, PNC. Maybe we'll take it Monday. I think that's why I didn't take it. I wanted to wait till Monday. Styles, how do I turn $35 into 7.5K? I would YOLO that $35 into an earnings play. Snow, Cosmo, did you just join us? Because I just ranted about Snow for about 30 minutes. Not that long, but let's see. Let me catch up on some of these questions. I know I have them here. Let's see. We talked about Baba, CCJ, AMC. Yeah, is AMC going to the moon? Maybe. We'll see what the response is as far as that report goes off of the Barbenheimer sales. So big volume here on Friday, probably due in part of that court case ruling. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Where did AMC actually end up closing? 718, 716. So we are way up here. We are way up here. Let's see. 819 to 850. That's going to be your next resistance zone here on AMC. So you closed about right here on AMC. Your next spot is going to be 820, 850 to the upside. And then you have, so you got a big gap here to 13 to kind of tend to. So let's go ahead and mark a few of these levels. I want those guys because that's going to be a zone here. We could really just draw a box. Hold on, let's go. Let me remove this level because that one doesn't really make sense to me anymore. All right, let me auto zoom. Okay. Okay, so that was your prior. I gotcha. Yeah, we can remove that. So let's kick this one off. That one. There we go. All right, just bear with me. Oops. Hit auto arrange at one point. Messed up my charts. Gotta love it when you do that. All right, here we go. Getting there. All right, so we closed here at about that 716 mark. 863 next step, followed by 915. Then 1310. 1310 is going to be a pretty interesting spot because that's going to be gap resistance. And then you have a move towards 1728, it looks like. So that's going to be your overhead. Is it going to be a sell? Is it going to be a sell the event? We'll see. Anything goes with AMC. If the apes are going crazy, who knows? We do have a weekly squeeze, but everything else is not in agreement. So it's going to be a tricky buy. If you play AMC, have a stop. Don't just buy and hope that it goes higher. If you get in, have a stop. Don't let it go against you. Just keep things tight and yeah, just play off the momentum. Wait for a bull flag maybe to show up, whether on whatever your favorite time frame is. I personally like bull flags on 5 minutes and played off that. Obviously, if you wait for a 15-minute bull flag, you're going to have a bigger move off of it. So it just depends on what time frame you're playing off of. If you're playing a 1-minute bull flag, sure, you can capture some movement off of that, especially if there's high volatility. But yeah, we'll see. I'm probably not going to personally trade AMC. It's just not my cup of tea. I've played it before. Great, did good on it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to dish you if you want to play it or not. I don't really care. But my only care in it is if you play it smart, have a stop, have targets already in set. Before you get into any trade, you should have your target, you should have your stop loss, and you should follow your rules and don't bet more than the house. So, yeah, that's going to be my spiel on that. So let's see. Let's see. Viri, V-I-R-I. Viri, V-I-R-I. Let's take a look. All right, Virios. That's a Harry Potter name. All right. Let's see what in God's green earth is going on here. All right, let's see. IPO'd at 1050. No, excuse me. IPO'd at 12. Hit a high of 16. Looks like you had some kind of split here, or maybe just earnings just killed it. Low of 22 cents. What's going on? Oh. Let's take a look at some of these smaller time frames. All right, this is a low float penny stock. What I mean by low float is there's not a whole lot of volume trading intraday. So you see this is a 5-minute candle. You had 15,000 shares. That's not bad. But you do have these moments where it's like 3K, 800 shares, 500 shares, 3K, 27K there. Oh, you had 100 something there. Big spike on that. 1 minute. Yeah, very, very low float. So you got to be careful when you're getting into names like these. Low floats mean if you get in, you might be getting in at a higher price, and then the bid ask just goes crazy and you're automatically down no matter what you do. Yeah, you got to be careful with these guys. All right, so as far as the trend goes, though, sure, you got a decent structure here. Higher lows, higher highs, 21, 50, 200 starting to kick up there. Where am I not playing this? If you get a break below the daily 21 here at 180. Let's see, you also got resistance here at about that $3 mark. That would be a level to kind of be watching out for. Let's see, 315 inside day. Yeah, it's one of those. It's interesting. It's a trash beat up name. I have no idea what they do. You do have an hourly squeeze. It's a trash beat up penny stock name. If it's a what was it called? It's a therapeutic name. Yeah, therapeutic name. So it's a biotech, biofarm. Look, biofarm. I don't recommend anybody playing biofarm. You got to be paying attention to all the catalysts involved. Do they have backers? You know, there's just so much headache going on in biotech land and biofarm, especially penny stocks. You're either in them and you get lucky by a blue moon chance, or you just give your money to somebody else and, you know, wave goodbye as you hand it to them. So my viewpoint on Virios Therapeutics is don't play it. Don't play it. Are you going to play this, which should be probably bankrupt dead at this point, 22 cents on the low? Or would you rather play a healthcare name like Lilly, who's making lifetime highs? What chart looks better, Lilly or Viri or Vili, whatever we just looked at? I rest my case on that. I mean, it doesn't even require an answer. This is borderline trash. I'd rather give my money to charity. This is giving it to helping someone else's grandson or kid go through college. You're just giving them money. You're just, hey, take it. There you go. Bye. See you later. When you file for bankruptcy, I'll be butthurt, but you'll be happy because you got my money. So I'm not playing Viri. I'm not going to recommend that you play Viri. I'm going to recommend you play Lily instead. I mean, that's all there is to it. Let's see. Viri. Cost. Let's go take a look at Cost. C-O-S-T. Costco. Yeah, Costco is going to be a benefit too of any sector rotation. It's had an incredible bullish move over the past few weeks. I think we even played this at one point, or I know one of our analysts played it, I'm sure. But yeah, Costco, yeah, this looks pretty good. You have earnings far away from the 926. Y'all hang out give me 1 second. All right, so Costco. All right, so 566, that's going to be our key spot. Let's see. It's going to be our next level of resistance. Let's see. Yeah, 564. It's had a pretty good run for the past few days. So what I would like to see here on cost is probably a little bit of a pullback. If you're already in it, great. Just know you're coming up to some resistance level here at 564.80. Once you do get above 564.80, there's really not much left up there until you get to that 600 mark. You can see on this weekly chart, this 564, 565 area does look pretty heavy here. But once we get above that, yeah, it looks like you might get a move to lifetime highs. And just this sector in general, you know, compare the two between Walmart and Costco, they both look pretty good. Walmart's just closer to lifetime highs than Costco is for the time being. So looking at Costco, a little extended. I can't really buy it here just because it's way up there. What I would like to see is a pullback to the daily 21. Let it hold. You got big volume coming in. Maybe a new freshly squeeze to come in and then launch us back over. Just kind of refuel the tanks a little bit. It's had a pretty darn good move over the past 2 or 3 weeks. So some pullback could be a breath of fresh air, and that's all it would be, is a pullback. Let's look into the smaller time frames. Yeah, the hourly time frame, you're just kind of butting your head there at that resistance level. Structure still looks good on the hourly and the daily. Just looking for a new squeeze. You got a 30-minute squeeze, so that could be good. I don't really see any divergences, so that's good also. So everything looks to be pretty promising. So this looks good. This is correct. That's correct. Squeeze is good. Momentum on it is really well. So if we do get a dip, yeah, buy the dip. What is the dip? It could be a dip to the daily 21. It could be a dip to, you know, here, even the hourly 21, to see if you can take it to some more upside. But just know that you are a little bit extended coming into slight resistance here. Not slight, but pretty good resistance here at 565. So I definitely would pay attention to that. Just, you know, let's see another card at the table and see what happens. But we got a ways until earnings. So yeah, not too worried on this at all. So yeah, I like this one. This one's going to be on the watch list as we get into the next few weeks for sure, if something shapes up on it. All right, let me catch up in chat real quick. Should upgrade a goat. Yeah, you should definitely upgrade a goat. All right. Let's see. All right, so we did cost. Oh, you're welcome, man. PDD looks strong. Yeah, let's take a look at Pin Duo. Yeah, okay. Starting to get into a squeeze. We do have some upward thrust here, so that is something to be mindful of. Let's zoom into that daily time frame, though. You know, I think it's a little... I wouldn't say it's looking strong. I'd say it's stable. I wouldn't say it's strong. A strong weekly trend would be something like Meta. Let's see if we can get a break above this 105 on the weekly. That would be pretty good. Your daily time frame. Let's see. We got some work here for sure. 82, 84. Once we get above that, there is a nice little gap resistance. I'm going to keep this one on watch. I'm going to set up an alert here at this 82, 84 mark, because that will create a nice little day trade for us for some momentum. As you can see, red over white, white over blue. So it's a little bit messy. So we'll give this an X on the daily structure. Don't have a squeeze, so I can't really give you anything there. We're neutral here. We're at 49, really 50. We still have a sell signal here on the daily. So I don't really have much to offer here just yet. So I really have 0 out of 4 on the conditions that to be met. So as far as PDD goes, we got 83 to break for a move towards 92. That could be a daily momentum trade. As far as the weekly goes, all right, let's zoom in just a little bit more. We know resistance is going to be at 105. If we do get a breakout above 82, 92, 105, that makes a lot of sense. But what is the structure on the weekly? All right, the 21 and 50 are, you know, smooching a little bit. You're getting a little tight. Let's see here. Yeah, I actually like this pattern where we have this little higher low on that weekly. So this breakout above 83 is going to be pretty juicy. Definitely have an alert set up for that. And that would just send us up to 92 and then above 92, 105. Starting to enter a squeeze. It's not a mature squeeze, but it's a squeeze nonetheless. You know, where a mature squeeze is having a red dot for at least 3 to 4 periods. That would be a mature squeeze, but you can still play off of that. This is neutral because it's incorrect. Yellow is over red. You're going to see that on a lot of charts. But we do have the upward thrust here. So I like the upward thrust. I like this key level of 82, 84. All we need is a fresh print here on the daily. I think that could seal the deal. Let's see. Then we could get the 21 cross over the red, and then the 50 will eventually make its way up there as far as PDD goes. Let's look at a smaller time frame. Hourly, we do have a squeeze on the hourly. Let's see, this is neutral bull. Yellow above purple, we're above 50, so that does give us a little bit of a check mark. See how we have the down signals here? We just need to see a new up print on the hourly, and that would pretty much do it too. So we got a few things to keep an eye out for that. So I'm going to write down PDD on my watch list to keep an eye out for. 83 to score a nice little trade there. Good shout. Ba-ba-ba-da. Did he just... Yeah, I'd rather hear the sound of pigs squeal than trade Baba. Let's see. So do we need to... Always... Cost, dang it. Look at cost. What do you mean by the daily 21? The daily 21, it is a mean reversion EMA, exponential moving average. The 21 EMA, SMA, whichever one you prefer. It's also used in Bollinger Bands. It's everywhere. It's used by a lot of traders. Reversion to the mean. What are your thoughts on EPD? Enterprise Products Partners. Okay. Let's see here. 27. Yeah, that's going to be our level right there. 27. Daily squeeze. Oh, you do have an hourly squeeze. You just got to be careful here. See how you close below the hourly 21. This could be an interesting buy zone, but this squeeze looks like the momentum's wanting to fire short. So what you want to see here is this kind of switch back to yellow and then work its way back up to blue. You got a down signal here, but the daily looks pretty proper. So what we want to possibly see here on EPD, let's go over here to this chart. All right. So now we're at about, oh, you got a nice little gap here to play off of. 227.62, so very, very low beta. You got earnings coming up. You got a nice buy signal here above 52. So we have decent structure. White over blue, blue over red. Not just coming out of a squeeze. This is good. This is good. Buy the dip mentality here. So if we do get a pullback to, let's say, 26.53, that'll be your dynamic support. Come back here and then launch from there. And then you got highs at 28.65 that you need to take care of. This would be a, oh, you have a weekly squeeze shaping up. Look at there. Nice. That looks good. That looks good. I might have to nibble on some shares myself here. What is this? EPD. And take a look at it. EPD. All right. So if we do get a pullback to 2650, yeah, that looks pretty good. Push up towards 27 and 2760. Slow mover. Does not move a whole lot. So we just have to really just buy a lot and kind of go for it. Let's see. Does it even have an options chain? Let me see this. EPD. Are you liquid? Yeah, you got some liquidity there. Not a whole lot. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd probably prefer to... Well, you can. What's a 90? Excuse me, what's that, 80 delta? I mean, an 80 delta for September only costs you like 90 cents. It's not a bad idea. Get you a 26 call. It's got 80 delta. They're like 90 cents. They're cheap, so you can just buy a bunch and play the upside. Low IV, the expected move up until September is plus or minus $1.20. So yeah, when I mean it moves like a snail, it moves like a snail. So you better be patient, as patient can be on something like this. It does not move aggressive a whole lot. You do have earnings coming up on August the 1st, so you got about 2 weeks for that. So just be mindful of that. But your structure looks good. Your weekly looks good. Yeah, could be looking for some higher prices towards 27 and 28. And if you take that 26 call and milk out that delta, which is what I would do, I would not go out of the money contracts on this. I would go in the money. They're cheap. Why not get the delta for it, or just buy a bunch of shares and sell premium and do it that way. There's a lot of stuff you can do with this, but yeah, I wish it was a little bit more fun, but that is a good setup nonetheless. Setup's a setup, and you could probably make money off of it for sure. So that looks good. So to recap, as long as 2650 holds, you're good. This is good. This is good. Weekly looks good. This is good. This is good. So I have actually 4 out of 4, really. Can't get any better than that. On EPD. Sly Squirrel says NVIDIA. All right, NVIDIA. So this was one of the things that we talked about. NVIDIA has had a 3% reduction within the NASDAQ. We've had a pullback to the daily 21 at 440. That was our key spot here on Friday. So I would like to see this 442 hold up. And I would actually like to see a bounce tomorrow within the NASDAQ, to be honest with you. And this would actually be a nice little buy the dip opportunity. You can see that high volume node there on Friday. That's from the rebalancing and restructuring. Overall trend is bullish. We have earnings in late August, so we have a lot of time between now and then. Let's see, not quite a squeeze there, of course, but this is good. We are still in a pretty big buy cycle all the way from pretty much January since the run up. So NVIDIA, it's pretty darn bullish. Gap up off of the last earnings, consolidated, moved higher, consolidated, pulled back to the daily 21, moved higher. So does this buy the dip give us another leg towards this 493? That would be our next target here, maybe even 500. So yeah, NVIDIA looks pretty good. If you want to play semiconductors, you could just play the SMH. But if NVIDIA does start to slip 440, yeah, there's not much support. You got a little bit of a gap to fill towards 423, and then you got support all the way down here at 405, 400, which would pretty much put you back all the way down to the daily 50. So yeah, that's going to be your next major support all the way down here at the 400 level if she cannot maintain 440. Why 440? Because this was prior resistance. Prior resistance resistance usually acts as new support on the pullback. So we're looking at 440 to hold. You're good to go long at 440 as long as 440 holds. If you start to crack, yeah, look out below for sure. So if we see continued weakness in tech and in the semiconductors, check out NVIDIA. I know AMD is having a tough time. Seems that it can't get going above 122. That's where we rejected pretty hard. 116 is a key level too to kind of keep an eye on, and then 108 is our support that we built on the post earnings pullback. So good thing about AMD is that it's actually a very clean chart to work with here. So if we draw a new level here, you can 130 to 133. That's a tight zone there. But yeah, pretty clean here. 107 to hold. If we start to lose 107, yeah, you got to be careful for sure. We've had 2 daily closes below the daily 50. We know when we have consecutive closes below the daily 50, that's generally not a good sign. So hopefully we can get a bounce here soon and get us back above that 116 mark. If we can get above 116, definitely feel a lot more comfortable with it. Just keep in mind, we do have earnings coming up, it looks like, here at the beginning of August. So in AMD, there's going to be a lot of eyes on these microchip names, especially with the AI craze and who's, bringing in what, how is AMD doing compared to NVIDIA and Intel? And well, Intel's been kind of wacky for a long time now. So yeah, we'll see. 107 to hold. Let's go over here to chat, not chat. Let's see. Got a few more talks there. Let's see. We just looked at AMD, PDD, looked at Pinduoduo, SE. One of my thoughts on Twitter. Any thoughts? No, because you can't trade it. It's private. SE. I use Twitter at Fuzz Stock Dads. If you want to follow me on Twitter, there you go. At Fuzz Stock Dads. That's my Twitter. Let's see. All right, SE. All right, so looking at SE, this used to be one of our darlings here at Stock Dads, and it was, we had a run up to 372. Yeah, we killed it. Chris killed it, actually. All right, so looking here at the daily chart now, though, look, we're at a high of 372. We're now trading at a lovely $60. That's pretty much a shame. Let me clear out some of these levels. I got lines all over the place. What about the whole Apple buying Disney? Is it a rumor, or is that, who threw that out there? Disney needs something, that's for sure. A whole new world. Maybe get Bob Iger out of there, but they just extended Bob Iger's contract for 2 years. My brother lives near Disney. They go all the time. I don't know. Yeah, it's a rumor. Yeah, so unless I see something credible there, I don't really speculate too much into that. And Disney's chart looks like death. Until they change something, yeah, I don't know. Disney's just in trouble, and you don't need my opinion on that to kind of know that something terribly wrong is going on here. If we look at this weekly chart, I mean, sure, you got this interesting wedge pattern here. That could be something to keep an eye on if that does play out, but it's not going to be much of anything until we break above the trend line here, and until then, there's not really much you can do. If we look at the overall daily trend, you see how the daily 21 is moving lower, the 50 is moving lower, the 200 is moving lower. Everything is pointing down. There's nothing here to suggest that Disney is in good shape here. The overall trend is bearish, so it doesn't really matter what I think. That the chart says that something has gone awry, and to wait for better opportunity. And it could take ages for this to set back up. So we just got to wait and see. SE, yeah, we got a channel here. Nice little mini Darvis box, so to speak. 67, 67, 55, 54 zone. Overall trend, though, it's bearish, we can say, because the moving averages are sloping lower. Specifically the daily 50. The oscillator tells us it's a bearish positioning. We don't have a squeeze. In fact, the last squeeze we had was right here, and we moved higher and then immediately moved down on earnings. So earnings kind of killed you there. Doesn't look like we have earnings until about another month. So we got some time for that to set up. But if we, if we look at the weekly chart, sure, you got an early buy signal, but let's see, is this an inverse head and shoulders? Maybe. It's speculative. And if you want to get in on something like that, you're getting in incredibly early. But you could. That doesn't mean you can't speculate, right? You just still got to wait for that breakout above 93.50 to confirm. And that would give you a nice little measured move. Probably back all the way up to 140-ish. So in the meantime, yeah, it's not a good trend here. You're just kind of sideways. Not too keen on it. Yeah. So if we break above 67, 67, that could set the stage up for 90. But if you start to break 54, that sends you back to possible lows. You could argue that the lows are in for sure. I mean, you're not making, and you kind of made a lower low there, so you got to be careful. So yeah, you don't want to break that 54.50, and the overall trend, the oscillator's below 50. I don't have any new buy signals here. We're not in a squeeze. So no on structure, no on a squeeze, no on the oscillator, no on the thrust. What I would be looking at is probably a bearish trade. If this breaks below 54, yeah, that could be the deal breaker to send this back down to 40. So if anything, I'm looking for bearish trades on SE rather than bullish scenarios. But that doesn't mean we can't try to find for one. Of course, that bullish scenario comes at 67.67, and that's only a slight bullish trade here. Even the hourly here is still kind of bothersome. No structure, blue over white. It's just a little messy. This is still below 50. Nope. Negative thrust. Nope. So until we get at least an hourly improvement, I can't really be any way bullish on this. And would you rather play SE, PDD, or Snow? One of those. Yeah. SE, a little bit sideways. I'd look elsewhere at this point if you're looking at SE. All right, let's move on. Could I do Walmart? Yes, sir. Chris Kramer with the Walmart. Now, we played Walmart, and I still have a contract open. So Walmart, nice little channel here between 153 and 158. Holding support here, and we got in at the break of this level here. So it was a tight little Darvis box that we played with the gap fill. We took profit there, and then we took another at this 158 mark. And now we're just looking to see if we can't push forward to 160. We do have a daily squeeze that's firing long. The oscillator is in a bullish positioning, so we got structure. White over blue, blue over red, check. We got a squeeze. That's kind of like a bonus. It's not a requirement. It's just a bonus. The oscillator is bullish, check. We have positive thrust from back here, check. So we have 4 out of 4, and that's really what got me in the trade. And we also have a clean level to work with. So not only did we play that break of 155 on the hold of 153, we hit our first target, our first main target of 158. Now we're seeing if we can get to 160. once we get above 160, that is lifetime highs. So how do we treat lifetime highs? Well, we can do a few things here. We can draw some fibs because, what are the targets when you hit lifetime highs? Well, we can draw some fibs. We can do it that way. Let's clear all that out. That's just the normal fib levels. Let's put a 2 dice on there. There you go, 162, 164, 168. You could draw a bigger fib zone between 161 and 150. Let's do that for fun and see what happens. Probably something outrageous. That did not do right. That's still not doing right. Let me zoom in. My notepad is in the way. All right, so let me do this. Grab that. There we go. All right, and yeah, this would be a weekly fib, so keep that in mind. This would be a pretty wild move here. Let's put this as 2.0, and then I'll put this as a gold, just so I know that's the weekly fib. Hit OK. Yeah, that would put your target up at 187. That's based on a measured move off the weekly high to swing low there on Walmart. So if you want to use that target, you got some mini targets on the daily fib, and then you got some much bigger targets here based on the weekly. So can Walmart get that high? We'll see. But yeah, if we hit 160, probably shed off my final contract there, or roll it out and see if we can't get higher prices from there. So there's a few ways to do that. Just do a profit recycling. We've made pretty decent off of Walmart, so it would make sense to roll it out and see what else we can get to the upside. Just keep in mind, if rotation continues, if rotation does continue, then Walmart will benefit. But if we do rotate back into tech, just know that we could get a pullback in general. So we definitely want to pay attention to that. But for the most part, we got trend, we got momentum, we got levels to work with. It looks pretty good. Pancakes 4851. Yeah, you can you ask questions in the stock chat. You don't have to type them in the that chat. I don't know why it would be restricting you. Yeah. Let's see. NVIDIA. Yeah, we did talk about NVIDIA. As long as it holds 440, you're good. If you lose 440, you can come down to 400. And then if we hold 440, I'm still looking for a move to 500. Earnings are in a while, but we do have AMD earnings coming up, so you kind of want to be mindful of that. Or you could just play the SMH if you want a safer route. That way you can dilute the involvement there. And so far, SMH is still holding trend and still holding structure. All right, let's see. I keep putting in that. Let me make sure. Ben Pullman, just out of curiosity, I received a message from a TikTok account trying to get me to sign up for Top Deck Market Tips. Is that something legitimate? Probably not. Sounds like I don't know what Top Deck Market Tips is, but if they're DMing you on a social media, probably something you should stay away from. I don't even think we send out DMs. Actually, I'm pretty positive that we don't just randomly send out DMs. I don't know if someone can correct me on that, but especially not on TikTok. Yeah, I don't know what that is, Ben. I would probably stay away from it. Yeah, you got to be careful with those social media stuff. Top Deck Market Tips. Let's Google it. Let's Google it just for what is that? Start building your future today with expert Forex trading. Yeah, I have no idea. I've never heard of them. Cryptocurrency. Yeah, copy trading. No, thank you. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Not involved with them. Looks a little weird. Can I do shop? Yeah. Shopify. Yeah, I'm still in, I'm actually in a bull called debit spread here on Shop. Shop pulling back in with the rest of tech. We're holding the daily 21. If we break this tomorrow, I'll just get out. It's a debit spread. I didn't risk a whole lot in it. And that was one of the reasons why I got into a debit spread, was not to risk a whole lot. So, sure, we could easily bounce off of this level, and that would be great. Of course, for my debit spread, but just for the overall health of the trend, seems every time that we've come back to the daily 21 or even to the daily 50, that seems to be the buy zone. But if we do get a close here, I'd probably go ahead and get out or reevaluate and see what could come up next. We do have earnings coming up, of course. On this breakout, you'll see that I got a fib level here. We actually hit that extension, and that was just a measured move from the swing high to the swing low, and that's what gave us this target. But as we are coming into the daily 21, this could be an interesting buy zone, like I said, to get in. The overall trend here is still ultimately bullish. We still have structure. The momentum looks good. This is okay. We still have bullish signals here off of the prior earnings gap up, which held. See how it gapped up, retested it, fired long, actually came back close to it, and then pushed higher. And it's just been a little bit of a grind here. Nothing too crazy excitement. It's just been a complete grind for the most part. So Shopify, for now, it's okay. It's not the most electrifying thing out there. It's not a meta by any means, but for the most part, yeah, Shop still looks pretty healthy overall. But if we do break down below 65.50, I'll probably go ahead and cut out of my debit spread and move on from there. The daily 50's right here at 63 also. So we'll see. If we do get a daily close below the daily 50, that's probably a pretty bad sign there, because we haven't done so in some time. So I definitely don't want to see it close below the daily 50. Nothing really good happens below a close of the daily 50, so just want to be mindful of that. So looking for Shop to hold dynamic support at 65 and push higher. If we break below, I'm out. You do have support down here at the 55 mark. You do have some support here at the 60 level. So 60, 55, resistance at 71.50, and then 78 will be our next target to the upside, which is the weekly 200. All right, let me clear that. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit, Hatish. Let me see. Is that everybody? All right. That kind of does it for me. All right, so what am I watching? I'm watching energy. I'm watching crude oil. Right now, let's see. Let's also take a look at the yields, TNX, just to kind of touch base. Looking pretty decent here. Of course, it had a pretty good Thursday because that's when most of tech sold off. So we want to pay attention to the yields and the bonds, of course. But yeah, crude oil and energy, that's going to be probably my major watch this week, and financials and healthcare. Still some of that defensive names with a close eye on tech to see if they bounce and recover. XLK, 52-week highs. Amazon, I still like the Amazon chart. If we can get back into something like that, that'd be great. But yeah, for the most part, we'll have to see how things go with the new rebalance and kind of go from there. But all right, that's going to be it. I appreciate y'all taking y'all Sunday night to come hang out with me and doing Sunday night prep. We'll be live for day trading tomorrow in the Discord, of course. And then we have, let's see, I stream the session on Wednesday live. So if you're on YouTube, you can come hang out with me on Wednesday if you want. Other than that, have a good rest of your evening. If you have any questions, you can feel free to write them out in the questions chat. If you're on social media, you can reach out at Fuzz at stockdads.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter Fuzz stock dads. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to go get some water because my voice is dried up from talking so much. I'm just kidding. It is pretty dry, though. But I appreciate all the good questions that you've had over the past hour and a half. I definitely appreciate it. Definitely like the setups that we found. Yeah, we can check out Zoom real quick, and then we'll go from there. Tradable bottom. You know, if you're going to look at Zoom, you might as well look at ARK-K. And ARK-K is doing pretty well. I'd probably play ARK-K instead of just Zoom, to be honest with you. Let's see, ARK-K, Zoom. Got a series of higher lows. You got a squeeze that's trying to do something. It's got some work, but the oscillator's still bearish overall. You have a tradable bottom. Earnings coming up. That could be a wait and see one, because I don't know. You know, obviously this was a COVID darling. It's not anymore. You know, it hit a high of almost $600. It's now trading down here at 60. So it's damaged goods. Structure is getting there slowly but surely. I'd personally probably just play ARK-K. ARK-K looks a little bit better. If we can get a move above 52.5, I think that sets the tone a little bit more. But Zoom, I know people are using it. We use it at Stock Dads whenever we have meetings. Actually, no, we don't. We switched to Microsoft Teams, so never mind. But let's see, structure, red over white, still a little messy. If we get a move, let's see, let's clear some of these lines. I'm going to leave that upper level here. So you have a tradable bottom. Let's look at the weekly. Yeah, you could have that little wedge here too. And there you go. Man, you even tried to break out of that wedge pattern. Let's see if we get a close above this. That would be interesting. That could set the tone for 90. And we know that junk has been moving, but Zoom is going to move down if tech is moving down. Inside day on Friday, big down day on Thursday, of course. So if you're trying to play this, I would probably have a hard stop right here at 65. Just play off that swing low with your target of 89. That could be interesting. So I like this wedge. See if we can break above 89. Let's see, that would pretty much do it there. Let's go there. Yeah. So look for that break above 71. I like that. Not 71, 70. Let's do it there. Yeah. Okay, that would put you above 71. Yeah, okay. So 71, send it to 89. On good momentum, watch your volume. Look for a squeeze if you want to. But this, just keep in mind, trend is still ultimately bearish, but they're trying to pick some of these junk names up, some of these COVID darlings. It's kind of interesting. I personally probably won't play it because I got other things I'd rather play than Zoom. But if you want to try it, that would be a pretty interesting play there. 71, send it to 89. Hold at 65 or get rid of it at 65 in my book. All right, that's going to be it. We've been on for a while, almost an hour and 45 minutes. So yeah, I'm spent. I will see you guys in the morning. I appreciate it. And we will see you guys in the morning. Take care. If you have any more questions, feel free to DM me, and I'll see you guys bright and early.